on. Don't worry. I just did that to be silly. No mask for the whole video. Welcome to the part 2 segment of ALT strategies in the office. Again, a disclaimer that I'm sure you're well capable of reading. I will count to 10 and smile so that you can do it. Okay, let's move on. I was getting to this point in the end of the first part. If you're making friends with people who don't like the people you don't like, what you're doing is building friendships in another way. And like the cold ALT I mentioned at the end of the last segment. So you still want to keep in mind that that you only see the students once a week and this cold teacher sees them all the time. So the JTEs might believe that they know exactly what the students need because they see them all the time. That's why all the JTs will probably care about are the needs of the students and not your feelings. Yeah, so it's good to understand that and read between the lines and be good with the students. Your qualifications, your expertise, your past, skills you have beyond being good with students, they just don't care about it. Yeah, whatever it is, if it doesn't help the students, just leave it behind outside of work. There's a difference between understanding the definition of something and in Japanese and what that implies. For example, if you say yoroshiku onegaishimasu, it could mean nice to meet you. In another context, the phrase also means thank you for the meeting. Between the lines in a context, this means thank you for your precious time, and it's very polite. So it's good at the end of a meeting to say yoroshiku onegaishimasu or just onegaishimasu. That can also just mean I'm pleased. And other Japanese read between the lines on that, and they see that you're putting forth an effort. Another kind of comment to read between the lines on is if you're hearing this, muzugashi. Of course, this word means difficult, but what the JT is saying to you, if you brought up an activity, say you want to do something you think will be really fun for students, but they think no one will understand it. And the thing is you're like, oh, those students are smart. You don't know what you're talking about. And that JT is like, I spend every waking moment with those students and I know what I'm talking about. You only spend 50 minutes with them and you don't know what you're talking about. And so they're thinking muzugashi. Half the students are going to come and complain to me in Japanese. They'll smile at you and say it's great. And then they'll whine at me about it. And then they'll go home and tell their parents about it. And then their parents will complain about me. And that's what that JT is thinking. And that's what that muzugashi is winded around. This is a pain in the butt. No way. Let's do something else that's simple, that's not going to get me complained about by some parent, to my boss. Let's just do something easy. They say simple is the best. They say simple is best. And that's why they say it. They don't want any more stress added to their life. If you hear them saying muzugashi, try to have a plan B or C, or B and C. And that's a good way to do it. How to be good with the students in the generalized view. So I like to think of the desk with this scenario. The desk is a test. If the students were on a break or at recess and I'm at my desk, I failed. If the students were cleaning and I was at my desk not interacting with them, I failed. If I was asleep on that comfortable desk, I really failed because at the job I have now, I'm not supposed to do that. That's actually in the rule book. It is pretty tempting sometimes. And then in the locker room, there's that comfy couch you could just fall right asleep on. And it's like a test to see if you'll do it so that they can complain about you. Basically, if you can avoid being at your desk and find a way to interact with students, you're doing a good job. Now, note that not all teachers are going to appreciate these same efforts that you do. They're not going to really care. That's why it's good to keep a journal of things you do. For example, students were walking around getting their lunches and preparing to go to their classes with the lunches. You were out there by the principal's office saying hello to students, or you were just saying hello to students. Well, write that down, or put a weekly entry. All week, I greeted students while they were getting their lunches. I talked to them during breaks, and I played basketball with them during recess. Just big short note like that for a whole week, writing dates. You don't have to have specific times or anything. And yeah, having that note will really help you. If something happens, like a JT doesn't like you, you can then in turn say, well, why didn't they tell you I did all of this? Maybe they just have a problem with me and it has nothing to do with my actual work ethic. And then, yeah, the notes will work as a positive way for you to share with your company, even if something bad doesn't happen. But it's also good to write down bad things that do happen with the JTA. Say that they yelled at you. Write down the time, date, when it happened, and exactly what happened. As many details about it as you can, and then send it to your company like that. Or if a student yelled at you, write it down. Let your work know, but never tell your school about things like that because you work for either the Board of Education, for JET, for a dispatch company, and so on. You know, all of our jobs are different. Or you work at a university and this is just fun for you. But you know, whatever the case, even if you work at a university, it's good to have a journal of what happens. So as I was saying, avoiding your desk is a good idea, but it's not always possible or necessary. Sometimes being involved with students can also backfire. In ALT, so yeah, when I, what was it, my second year of teaching, my third year of teaching, I knew this other ALT who was given an award because he would go into classes on his free time that weren't English classes. And I saw him up there holding the award and so happy. And he went, you know, you have an opportunity whenever you walk into that student's life to change them and shape minds in a positive way. And I was so moved by this guy's speech that I said, all right, the next time I go to I go to a school, I'm going to do that. I'm going to go into school. I'm going to go into classes and not necessarily do anything where I'm bothering the class. I'm going to do what this guy did, which is I'm going to go into that classroom and be quiet and just show students I care about their lives during my off periods, and I don't have to make an activity. I'll do that, but I'll clear it with the teacher first, of course. And then I did that. So yeah. Then when I did that at the fourth school I worked at, a junior high school in Owita, the teachers complained about me. They said he's coming in and disturbing classes. And I go, well, I was just doing what this guy who got this huge award did. Why is it I'm different? It's also a different school, and that was Nagoya, and I was living in Owita at the time. So it's also a shift of culture. They're different there. I didn't consider that. I didn't consider that it was Tatamae when they were telling me something else. So it didn't matter that I wasn't disturbing anyone. To them, an ALT is the coolest person in the world, so you're disturbing them just by walking by the window. Yeah, so the teachers didn't want me in there and they weren't saying it directly. So I started sitting at my desk and studying Japanese, and that's when I learned that word that I just mentioned, and I think I mentioned it a few times, tatamae. That's when someone tells you what they want, what they think you want to hear, and they hope that intuitively you know their real feelings instead. So, do you want to get pizza or sushi? Sushi. So either this person's saying they don't want sushi or they're saying they don't want either, but they definitely don't want sushi if they say it like that. Do you want pizza or sushi? Sushi. Oh, okay, that person definitely wants sushi. It's kind of like that. Where you have to read between the lines of how they're really feeling. And that's what is always going on in this culture, I've found. And I'm generally speaking again. So it relates to, it goes back to that book I mentioned by Nesbitt, where you're kind of reading for feelings. So when you're sensing feelings, in my opinion, though, what it really is it's called assuming, but it's not always the case, and it's really an effective way here of showing that you're trying is by assuming a little what someone's feeling. Another way to interact with students on your off period is physical education. So after I stopped going into those non-English classes, minus a few classes where some teachers literally pulled me by the shirt into the class and pointed to where my chair was and were like, sit there, including a Japanese teacher who wanted me to learn Japanese. That happened too. So it wasn't all bad at that Oita school. Some of the teachers were really kind. And actually, some of them were great friends, including a judo coach who made me an assistant coach. That's a story for another day. So you should consider avoiding classes that aren't yours, even if some other guy got an award for doing it. And just point out to him that he was really lucky. Yeah, but going to PE is okay usually. It's good to check with a teacher, or just not go to PE and put on some gym clothes like this person in the photo did, and run around. The students are going to think that you still care about them and you're doing that to hang out with them, but without interfering in their class. Nothing is stopping you from doing this. And during your off periods, you can do that. And the benefits, you get exercise. You get to put in those extra steps that you might miss throughout the day. And you look like you're participating with students. So it's just a win-win to put on gym clothes during your off periods if you have the time, and either run or walk outside, do a little exercise. I highly recommend this. It's a way to keep your mind and your body healthy. Here's something else you could do on your off periods while you're at your desk. It's talk to other teachers. Talk to teachers even if they don't speak English. And you might notice that the topics in Japan are sometimes a little shallow. How's the weather and so on. And I recommend learning the questions and answers in Japanese. The following are based on what I've been asked for 6 years at different schools, and also what other ALT friends of mine have been asked as well. But these questions are based on what's in the textbooks you're going to see. So another good idea is to kind of memorize the easy English in the textbooks, and then use that with the teachers and students, because they'll know that. If you're teaching 6th grade, memorize the 6th grade easy vocabulary, and then use that when you talk to the 6th graders. Apply that to all the grades with each textbook. And the teachers who teach those grades also know those, including the non-English teachers, because they look at them and they want to incorporate each class into it. Sometimes science classes will use English words like heart and brain. So some things to talk about with these teachers while you're on your off periods, or just normal conversation. What do you think of the students? This is something I've been asked, and it's a good question, but the answer should always be positive, of course. More just be yourself, okay? Where do you live? They're not asking for your address. They just want to know the town you're living in now. It's cold hot today, isn't it? I can't believe how many people get annoyed by this question. It shocks me that people from other countries don't understand the purpose of this question. They're not like saying, oh, is it hot outside? Is it cold outside? And you're like, yeah, obviously. No, they're saying we're both cold. We're a team. We're bonding. We're building a friendship. That's what they're saying. When somebody wants you to agree with them about weather or sports, what they're saying is they want to be your friend, and they're reaching out a metaphorical hand and saying, here's a few steps to us being friends. It's cold, isn't it? Yes, it's cold. Wow, I think so too. I like salmon. Oh, me too. I like salmon. Oh, really? Okay, check. We can be friends. That's what they're doing. They're building a list of how to become friends with you, or what to talk to you about. Yeah, you'll hear these weather questions. Same with the sports question. They're asking that because they want to build a friendship with you, or you're asking that to do the same. Why else would you talk to these people? So, did you know there are 4 seasons in Japan? I've been asked this more than 5 times, and it kind of surprised me. Do you know that there are 4 seasons around the world? And what the general opinion is, I've found is that the seasons in Japan are apparently perfect, and they're not perfect everywhere else. I don't get it, but it is something you might get asked, and it's fun to just smile and nod at that one, I think. Or hey, come up with your own response. Let me know a good way to respond to that one. I just sort of smile and nod and I go, oh, okay. But one time, another Japanese guy hit the other guy on the head who asked me that, and he said, "Of course he knows there are 4 seasons everywhere." And inside, I was laughing so hard, but I didn't want to laugh at that guy's face because he was just practicing English. And that's really what they're doing, if you think about it, is they're practicing English. If I'm practicing Japanese, I don't want someone to stop me and say, "Of course I know that. What's wrong with you?" That'd be so rude. I'd want them to just encourage me to try Japanese. And so that's what I do when they're using English. And even if it's simple, like, can you use chopsticks? This is something that they learned in junior high school. They're not saying it to be rude to you or because they're ignorant. They're saying it because some junior high school teacher at some point told them that foreigners don't know how to use chopsticks. And they're like, what? Because they want to surprise and shock them. So they told them this. It's really a thing they say in junior high schools in a class to students learning English or about culture. They say foreigners can't use chopsticks, even if it's true or not. And then they teach them, can you ride a bike? Can you use chopsticks? And chopsticks is something they learn. They're like, hashi, chopsticks. It's an easy word they learn. And then they learn can you plus use plus chopsticks. And it's a simple sentence they could put together and remember. And that's why they in turn ask you that. You're a professional at this language. And then they want to practice that sentence. And then here you say, yes, I can. It's very simple. And it's not something to overreact about. So I don't know why someone overreacts about any of these. Do you like drinking alcohol? Something else a teacher might ask. I wouldn't ask it to them first. I'd wait for them to ask. Yeah. So these other ones, they're different per region. I think it's pretty funny that I heard the last one from a New Zealander. Are you from Australia? And asked to a New Zealander. But do you speak English or Australian to Australians? And that one's pretty funny too. The others are pretty general for Americans and British people. Do you speak Japanese? It gets asked to everybody from every country because they want to know if they can talk to you on a deeper level than a shallow level. When you can speak their own language, they can really open up to you, and that's why they're asking. Usually, did you come here with your family? It's just a question that gets asked. It's not something to be too personal. It's just because that's, again, something they've learned and they want to practice English. When are you going back to your home country? Same thing. They're just practicing. Now, you put someone in America asking that to someone from Mexico and just see the backlash. But you ask that in Japan and it's totally fine. I don't get it. But it's a normal question here. Have you been back home recently? And of course, you can say, yeah, I was home this morning. Yeah, they want to know about your home country, and it's just they're opening up to you. They're not saying go home foreigner, because no one's going to talk to you here if they don't want to. They're asking because they want to know more about you. So just go with it and smile. There's no reason to get mad. They just want to be your friend. How long have you been in Japan? Pretty common question. How long are you going to stay in Japan? Another common question. Believe it or not, most people who come from overseas only stay here about a year. I've been here 7. Some of you might have been here double that, but it's not so common. We are not common. Most people come here for a year, maybe 2 or 3, and then they go home. Are you married? I wouldn't bring this one up either. It's like the alcohol question. Let them ask. Is your spouse partner Japanese? Another common question. Do you have children? I haven't been asked so many times. Do you like children? I get asked that when I teach kids. Do you like children? So I want to know if you like the students. And one thing to not talk about is money. It's very taboo here. The point of listening to these questions is to note that teachers in your office are going to probably ask that. And it's good to remember the phrases in English and in Japanese. So they're great ways to communicate with these teachers and also students with some of the questions, minus alcohol and probably marriage. Yeah, you can ask the students some of the other ones. Can you use chopsticks? Turn that one around. Can you use a fork? It's a good one because they don't necessarily remember what a fork is. They know what or even a spoon or a knife. So it's a good one. Can you use a fork, spoon, and a knife? So they might ask you, when are you going home? Again, don't be offended. They're just talking to you to become your friend. And yeah, same goes with when are you going home and can you use chopsticks? They just want to be friends with you. And these are things that come right out of their textbook sometimes. So when you become friends with a Japanese teacher, it's really a great thing. Like I mentioned in another segment, one of my best friends is a Japanese teacher from Yokkaichi, and been my friend since 2019. Yeah, really good friend. And it just becomes this irreplaceable friendship that you wouldn't trade for the world. So I've also become friends with 2 judo coaches and a basketball coach, some a sixth grade homeroom teacher, a fifth grade homeroom teacher, another English teacher at another school I work at. Those 3 are from this year, and I go to the gym with the first 2. I mentioned this earlier, but yeah, you can develop these friendships just from those questions I listed off, and building on it. So I'd avoid yawning, hands in the pocket, leaning, thumbs down, rubbing the back of your neck, looking at the clock in the class. So when you yawn in any other country in the world, it's fine, it's normal because you're human, and it's called breathing hard. Yawning is excess breathing. But here, excess breathing is rude. It was such a shock to me. And even the teacher I mentioned, the English teacher who's my friend, I said to him, do I ever yawn in class? And he said, yeah, you do. But I don't mind because I know you're really tired from writing these long papers and all these projects you have. And I said, I'm sorry. I realized that in Japan, it's considered rude to yawn. And he said, it's not everywhere else in the world. And I said, no, it's not. Japan is special. You think it's rude to yawn, only you. Japan is so special. And he said, what? I know, I thought it's rude, at least in England. And I go, maybe I'm not from there, but maybe if someone's talking and then someone else suddenly goes, oh, like this exaggerated yawn, then it's rude. But if someone's just covering their mouth, then you're taught to do that as a child to not be rude. Where I'm from, that's why you cover your mouth. But here, if you're covering your mouth, it indicates that you're bored, no matter what. No matter what's going on, you're at your desk and you're just covering your mouth to be nice. In Japan, it translates to rude. Hands in your pocket, it translates to angry. Leaning translates to lazy. Thumbs down translates to go to hell. So you do this. Rubbing the back of your neck means I don't want to do this. I don't want to talk about this. Don't talk to me. Looking at the clock means I'm bored and possibly angry. And these are ways that they interpret these things. And that's why it's good to avoid. They're not going to change their culture for us. So it's good to note it and try to avoid it instead. It's really hard to avoid the first one. That's for everyone because it's something you'll even see teachers and students do. And then only when you do it is it rude. Yeah, bizarre land. So a few things I do that don't always work, but do half the time. I put my tongue on the roof of my mouth when I'm about to yawn, and it kind of avoids it. Or I smile, and I'm yawning right now, and you can't tell. Yeah, but it's not always possible. And luckily, the face masks are there, but they don't always help. Some teachers are going to look beyond that and be like, "You're yawning. I'm complaining about you." That's just how they are, and you can't avoid it. So yeah, just do your best to tatamae them and try to not yawn. Uh, so yeah, they're gonna think that you're sad or depressed or bored. So it's good to avoid it. And that ends the segment of strategies. The next I hope that you watch the next segment. Thank you. And to everyone who watched, especially ALT Agora and staff who helped out with the project. May the words you heard be remembered as positive guidance for your future.